Hey, hi, and welcome back to our virtual tour. Let's take a look at this beautiful church. This is the First Baptist Church of Ann Arbor. It was built in 1880. It is located at 517 East Washington Street. So, again, just focus in for a second before I get into the history and take a look at those stones. Every one of those stones they were laid stone by stone. It's just remarkable. And that beautiful steeple that it has. So let's go ahead and take a look at the history. So important was the construction of this church building, the third in the history of the First Baptist Church since its organization in 1828, that members monitored its construction and personally selected and arranged the square-cut field stones into pleasing designs. Parishioner John Nolan provided the black walnut for the interior from his farm, and Edward Onley, a nationally known professor of mathematics at the University of Michigan, mortgaged his own home to raise funds to build the church. The First Baptist Church was organized in 1828 in a farmhouse 3 miles west of Ann Arbor. 4 years later, services were held in town above Anson Brown's store on Broadway, and construction of a church building began on Wall Street in 1835. In 1849, the congregation erected a brick church on Catherine Street between Division and Fifth in order to be closer to the university students. In 1880, they commenced building the present church, and the old brick church was demolished shortly after the new one was completed. And this was from the Ann Arbor District Library. By the way, I am so indebted to the library and the individuals who provide the historical perspective, who did the original research. I'm also very pleased to say that all of the branches of the Ann Arbor Library, all 5 of them, have copies of iconic Ann Arbor. So if you ever feel like thumbing through the book, as well as taking a look at the video series, you can do so for nothing. The Ann Arbor Free Public Library has copies on all of its branches. Okay, so what kind of reactions from people? Somebody said Cassie Russell was one of my Sunday school teachers there. So was Lynn Murray's mother at this church. Somebody said Ann Arbor is such a wonderful history and such eclectic architecture. Somebody said, funny thing about the First Baptist steeple, not named after the donor as it was given to the church by Mr. Blunt. Blunt steeple? No. I like that. Somebody else said, helping the vets and the homeless for over 50 years. It's a wonderful church. Just look at it. It's a good feeling just to look at this church. Perspective, what was happening in 1880? 1880, the first commercial production and sales of phonographs and phonograph recordings occurred. The word boycott enters the language when tenant farmers in Ireland organized and refused to pay landlord agent Charles Boycott. Now there's something you've learned today, most of you. Also in that year, Thomas Edison patents the electric incandescent lamp. The construction of the Panama Canal began that year, and a treaty between the United States and the Chinese gave the U.S. government the right to limit, restrict, or suspend, but not prohibit, the entry of Chinese into the United States. There you go. There's some background information. As always, just click the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified of the next posting. And of course, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you down the road as we continue our tour of iconic Ann Arbor. Thanks.